A victory Sunday here for the Alabama Football Report as the Crimson Tide took down the A&M Aggies 26-20 in an overall good game for Alabama. It featured some really weird stuff at the back end of the game. Maybe it was a little bit more tight than it should have been, but Alabama takes down the Aggies, an impressive road win for the Crimson Tide. We'll get to some overreactions from this game, but first, give me your one-word reaction to Alabama's win over Texas A&M. Solid, good, happy, impressive, whatever that one word is, get it going for me in the comments section right now. All right, Sunday overreactions. I was incredibly impressed by Jalen Milroe. If you had told me that Alabama was going to throw the football approximately 30 times, I went, oh no, that's probably not a good game. Well, it was an awesome game for Jalen Milroe, who lit up the Aggies, 21 of 33, 321 yards. He had 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. There were even some plays that, hey, maybe if Jermaine Burton isn't the most streaky player ever, which some great stuff and some lows for Burton mixed in there as well. A very impressive performance. Alabama in total averaged 9.7 yards through the air and less than 1 yard on the ground. Now, again, that is in large part because Milroe was sacked 6 times. Some of that's on the offensive line. Some of that's on Milroe holding the ball a little bit too long. Then again, when you can hit big plays to Burton several times and the big one to Isaiah Bond for the score as well, you'll live with some of those sacks. But the ground game, I was convinced. Jase McClellan's got the ball. He's got the huge game. He has to carry this team. Kind of got going late in the game. Had some nice runs, but he was only 12 of 45. So the best running back for Alabama averaged under 4 yards a carry. Milroe was the single biggest reason on offense. Alabama came out on top. All right, overreaction number 2. Man, I don't think it's much of an overreaction, by the way. The offensive line is not good enough. I continue to be concerned about what we've seen out of this offensive line as a unit. There's way too much inconsistency. A new right guard in there, because as we'll get into later on in today's show, Darian Dalcourt's apparently injured now, was Jaden Roberts, who was in there at right guard, played 59 snaps for the Crimson Tide. He was okay. This photo makes him look like a damn superhuman. His proportion, it's the angle and the lens, but the proportion, it makes him look like the meme of the guy like kind of falling down with the massive arms. Like his upper body looks unbelievably huge. Anyway, back to stuff that matters. 1 sack allowed, it's fine. Not a huge issue. The run blocking grade was not great. I think you did miss Darian Dalcourt a little bit there in that category. Elijah Pritchett got some run again at left tackle, continues to be a rotational player along the offensive line, which I don't like. In general, I do not like rotating offensive linemen when the game is on the line. I think that only leads to more chemistry issues, I think is what this offensive line is facing right now. That's why they had 7 pre-snap penalties. How? Alabama, frankly, if I had told you that they averaged, including sacks, under 1 yard a carry and committed 14 penalties, you would have said, oh my God, we got blown out. Now, they won the game. That's what matters. But this is the thing that they've got to get figured out. This is not going to work against better competition. Again, I don't think A&M is all that great. Still, it's a big SEC win. Seth McClellan, the nice thing I can say is he was better at snapping the ball. Still not perfect. We are 6 games in, and this Alabama offensive line continues to battle pre-snap penalties and snap issues. They got to get that figured out. Because if and when you play Georgia in the SEC championship game, in theory, that's don't like that one there. That has been a major worry going into games. The snaps were better. I think us typing snaps helped a little bit there, but they have to do more. They have to get more going and better play along that offensive line, or as the season turns into the real SEC grinder, you got Arkansas next, but then you got Tennessee, LSU, Kentucky all in a row. That's not easy. Those teams will give you a fight. So rate the offensive line's performance against A&M, I should say. Scale it for me from 1 to 10. 1 on the low end or 10 on the high end. Overreaction number 3, how about Jermaine Burton and Isaiah Bond being wide receiver 1 and 2? Certainly was the case against the Aggies. No sign of Jalen Hill from a stat sheet perspective. In fact, outside of Burton and Bond, 2 receivers combined for catches for 10 yards total. Clearly these 2 guys. Burton, sometimes I love him, sometimes I hate him. I thought one of the better throws of the day for Milroe. He's kind of doing that third down throw along the sideline, throws it right at the sticks to Burton, who just drops it. And then he kind of gets up and like, you're not mad? Like, what are you doing there? But he also caught 9 passes for 197 yards and had 2 scores. So, I guess that's fine. He can be that big play threat. I think you saw that against Alabama, or for Alabama against them. There were a lot of those big plays. So if Burton can just be more consistent, he can be the guy we thought he was going to be coming over from Georgia. Isaiah Bond, by the way, I thought had one of his better games. 8 catches for 96 yards, another touchdown in this one. Looking back through his game logs, that was the most he had this year. Even dating back to last year, he had not gone over that 96-yard mark. So a true career day there for Isaiah Bond for the Crimson Tide. So hopefully that continues, although maybe they don't have to throw it for 30 yards every time. But if they can, hey, it's a positive thing, I suppose. Now, today's show is made possible by Prize Picks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. It's just you against the numbers. You are not battling thousands of other players, the Sharps and the Sharks, etc. It's just you pick more than or less than on 2 to 6 player stat projections, and you watch the winnings roll in. They have a vast selection of sports and stat types not offered anywhere else. You can do in-game projections after a game has started, so you can pick, more than second half Jase McClellan rushing yards as an example. You can do, for NFL, you can do fantasy points scored, which, maybe if you're, getting ready to play the Sunday Night Football game and you're up by, or you're down by a bunch of points, take the lesson on the player projections to help make you feel better if you don't win your match, or just go double down and take the more than there. Prize Picks is the largest independently owned daily fantasy sports platform in North America. And when you go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS, they will give you a first deposit match up to $100. Link will be in the comments and the description. Again, that's prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS for that first deposit match up to $100. Not necessarily a new reaction, but one I feel the need to mention again. This defense absolutely is championship caliber. Now, I do think Jimbo Fisher helped out a little bit with some of the decision making. For example, going forward or kicking the field goal on 4th and goal from the 2 when you were down by a lot. It's just like, kind of, what are you doing out there, my guy? Doesn't make any sense. It was very confusing because they still needed points. It was weird. Anyway, he also went for it or kicked the field goal or punted on another one. Kind of was weird. But the Bama defense had that offense in stitches all day, and that's a very good thing for the Crimson Tide moving forward. Max Johnson had the safety on either the throwaway or the sack. I still can't tell watching the highlight which one it really was beyond what was ruled on the field there. Le'Veon Moss had 3 yards a carry. A&M averaged under 2 yards a carry. They had 5 sacks in total against A&M. Tim Keenan had a sack. Chris Braswell had a sack. Dallas Turner continues to look like an awesome football player. He had a sack and 1.5 TFLs. Jaheim Otis, Justin Aboijbe had a sack and a half as well. Kind of one of his best games ever. Dallas Turner, 8 total pressures. They figured it out. Let your elite pass rusher go after the quarterback and not drop into coverage bunch. Go figure. It kind of works out that way, right? Very impressed by what Alabama's defense has done, and I think will continue to do. Yeah, Anais Smith there were a couple of chunk plays through the air. Max Johnson did throw for 239, only 14 completions, but this defense is legit, I promise you. So do you agree with me? Does Alabama have a championship caliber defense? Y for yes, N for no. Go vote in the comment section. Finally, some of these injuries are getting a little bit worrisome for the Crimson Tide as they get set up to get healthy this week, in theory. Malachi Moore twisted his ankle, which I thought Jalen Key was okay, hoping to sub in. We'll see how that goes. Malachi Moore thought was playing really well for the Crimson Tide. We shouted him out on last episode on the preview side. hopefully he's okay. The punter, James Burnett, pulled a muscle. So Will Reichert stepped in to do punts. Burnett was still doing the holds, so that's good. Hopefully that pulled muscle gets healthy because can't really punt on a pulled muscle. Darian Dalcourt was dressed, did not play with a, I would say, hidden shoulder injury. It's college football, you can get away with it there. But he has a shoulder issue, so we'll see what happens throughout the week there. Emmanuel Henderson, obviously he's still out, but I do want to make note, he did travel. And that's the first time he's traveled to any away game. I think that means it's a sign he's getting closer to being able to return for the Crimson Tide. We will have more injury updates for you all throughout the week, so make sure you are subbed youtube.com/@RollTideTV.